show you how to do these butt connectors. Now in this case we're going to be working with a headlight wire harness, and this would plug into the bulb, and this end here would connect to the wires that are on the truck. So we're replacing the old wire harness with a new wire harness. So let's imagine that this right here is the wire going to the truck, a white and a black. You generally will see different colors of wire. So let me just briefly explain this. If one wire is red and the other wire is black, the red is usually the positive, almost always in a 12-volt DC system. However, sometimes you don't have a red wire. Instead, you have a black wire and a white wire. In that scenario, the black wire would be the positive and the white wire would be the negative. And then other times, both wires will be black or both wires will be white. So then it's like, well, you have to guess one way or the other. You could hook up a multimeter and then try to determine that way, but there are some variations. You may have a black wire and a green wire. In that case, black would be positive, green would be for ground. So in this case, we're going to assume black is positive, white is ground. So in between our wire harness and the wire supplied from the truck, we have to put in butt connectors like that. Okay, so these butt connectors come in different sizes. This is something I ordered off Amazon, and you can see AWG 2216. AWG stands for American Wire Guide, and 2216 talks about the wire size. So this will fit wires from size 16 to size 22. Now sometimes the wire will have it printed on it what size it is. So you inspect the wire and sometimes you can see it'll say what size wire it is. So in this case, I cut a piece off of my inventory and it's 18 gauge. Okay, so it definitely fits between 16 and 22, so that would be perfectly fine. So, and then this white wire is similar size, so that'll be fine. So we're going to attach the wire harness to the truck wire through these butt connectors. Now you do need a couple tools to make this job successful. You need wire strippers, and I'll post links to each of these parts when we're done. These are some of my favorite wire strippers. They're cheap, plastic, and I found them to be the most effective. So they got little jaws right there. You grab that wire and it'll pull it back. It's very quick. You'll see a lot of mobile mechanics will use this. So those are wire strippers, and what we want to do is we want to cut just a little bit of the insulation off the end of the wire. See how it is on that? We want to cut about that much insulation off the wire because we're going to slide this butt connector over the end. So we want that to go right in there. And if you look, you see this is the metal part of the butt connector. Let me get my pointer here. Okay, this right here, from here to here, is metal. You could see at the end of the metal, you see the black insulation. So this part of the wire is inside the metal. That's what you want. Okay, so then once you have that, you get your crimpers. Now these are Titan crimpers. See, it says 1, 2, 3 on the top. So these things are made for different size butt connectors. 1 is for pink, 2 is for blue, and that 3 is, I think that's 3 or a 5, is for the yellow. So the small one goes towards the front. Now how I like to do this is, I'm going to try to do this while I'm holding the phone, is I like to put my butt connector inside there, line that up. It'll make a perfect crimp on that wire. So, what you would do is you put your butt connector inside that crimp and then you close your pliers. So this is not easy to do while you're holding the phone, I can tell you that. Okay, so you got it like that. All right, now you haven't squeezed down on it yet because you got to slide your wire through there. See that? That will make a perfect crimp on that wire. Sometimes when you use regular pliers, you don't get a good crimp. And if you don't get a good crimp, you don't have a good connection. And then your problem continues. Your headlight will still have problems. It took me 6 months to a year to figure out that I didn't have good crimp. So then I bought good crimpers. And then once I got a good crimp, I had a good connection, and then it worked properly. So I like to put the butt connector in the crimper and hold it there, and then slide the wire in. That's how I like to do it. You know. So let me try to do this. I wish I had a portable stand for my phone so that I could do this hands-free. All right, so the wire's in. Okay, see the wire's in. Now we're just going to squeeze down on this about as hard as you can. Okay, then it'll stop and you release. Okay, so there's your crimp. That is a high quality crimp. Makes a perfect crimp. So then what you would do is you would do a pull test. Pull on it, make sure it doesn't come out. That's good crimp. So then you would do the same thing on the other side, okay? And then with the strippers here, let's go ahead and demonstrate how this works. Try to do this while we're holding the phone. Okay, so I got my wire in there, and now we're just going to strip it. See how I took a chunk off? Okay. So that's our new stripped wire. So now we're going to stick that inside here and just see if we got it the right length. I bet it's a little long. So we stick it in as far as it goes. Okay. Now if you look real closely, you can see it's a little too long. See, there's where the insulation starts, right there. And you can see a little bit of copper, and then you see the metal. So we need to cut a little bit off the end of that so that when we slide the copper in, the insulation will line up nicely with the metal of the butt connector. So got a little bit too long, so we need to cut a little bit off. Now I like the channel lock cutters. These are 5-inch angle cutters. I like these. I have a lot of channel lock tools. I like the blue grip. It's very comfortable. These are high quality tools. Now some people like Knipex, which is made in Germany. And then some people like Klein, which is actually made in Texas. I have some Klein tools. They're good tools. These are made in Meadville, Pennsylvania. So you would just cut a little bit off right there. Okay. Not a lot. You can see we didn't cut very much off. We just want to try to get that so it's a perfect length. And I found sometimes you need to twist. Once you cut it, you need to twist it a little bit. Put a little bit of twist in it, and then try again. So, see how that's better. That is a lot better. You know, it's very tedious, but that's what it's like to work with electronics and electrical and small 12-volt DC systems. It's tedious. And really, you have to be as precise as you can possibly be, because the better quality repair you do, the more satisfied you're going to be with the performance of your new wire harness and bulb assembly. If you do shoddy wire, it's unreliable. It may work for a day, a week, a month, 3 months, but then you'd be right back doing it over again. And if you hire an inexperienced mechanic and they do shoddy work, you'll be paying for this repair over and over and over again. I've been doing this type of repair now for years, and believe me, the first year or so, it was a lot of trial and error. And it's like I didn't have the right tools, I wasn't using the right technique. I didn't really understand about why it wasn't working. Sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't work. So once I started doing it the best I possibly could with the correct tools, then I was able to solve the problem. So again, in this situation, I would take the wire out, put my butt connector inside the jaws of my crimping tool. Like this. And we're going to squeeze down just a little bit till it gets a grip on it. And it kind of holds it in place like a vise. Just a little bit of pressure, not a whole lot. Okay, so it's in there. Now it's not fully down, but it's down. It clicked a couple times, so it's holding it in place. You can see that it's not crimped yet. Once it's crimped, that'll turn from round to flat. Okay, so now we got it in there, and now we got the proper length on our new wire. See some loose strands there. If you got loose strands, just twist that wire and it'll straighten out. So now we will put that back in there. It's like threading the needle. Okay. Make sure, do another visual inspection, make sure it's all the way in. Okay. Sometimes it's better to do this a couple times. See, I don't think it's all the way in. See, it's not all the way in, so I'll pull it back out. See, it got twisted. So we need to straighten that out. All right, so hang on a second. Put a twist in the wire. Okay, now we got the wire twisted and straightened out. Now, we're going to try this again. Okay, now it's all the way in. I felt it go in. You can see it's all the way in. Do a visual inspection. Look at it very, very closely. Make sure it's all the way in. When you're satisfied that it's all the way in, go ahead and squeeze that thing as hard as you can. You hear it clicking? And then it'll release. So now you got a perfectly good crimp on both ends of that wire. Okay, and then again, you want to do a pull test. Just like when you hook up your trailer, you do a pull test. Pull on that. Make sure it doesn't come out. All right. So now we got a good crimp on both ends of that wire. Now you can inspect that wire and you can say, okay, it's not damaged. Looks pretty good. Now, compare that to the old wire harness. See how it's damaged? See how it's turning green? Because it was damaged when the mechanic did it. It was damaged, or over time it got worn out and the electricity burned a hole through it, and then it started corroding. Once copper starts corroding, it turns green. So that's why I could have cut the wire up here and kept those wire connectors. But I said, you know what, those connectors are damaged. I want to cut the wire behind it and put in new wire connectors. All right, so then we would do the same thing with the other wire. Now I'm not going to do that for the sake of saving time. Next we're going to do heat shrinking. So I use a portable butane torch. See how that works? Now if you look at the instructions, they want you to use a heat gun. That's fine and dandy if you can, but I can tell you right now, nobody uses the heat gun. The heat gun is ideal. And if you were in a garage or a shop with 120 volts AC and a place to store your heat gun, that would be preferable. You know, you can see approved heat gun after crimping both wires side to shrink tube. Approved heat. So I don't have a heat gun. Mobile mechanics will use a heat gun. They tell you don't use a torch. Everybody uses a torch. You know, so I don't know what to tell you about that. I use the torch. So what you would do is, first of all, let's remove the paper towel so we don't start a fire. Here's the butane that you would use on your torch. And you just plug it in the bottom there and that'll recharge your torch. Now, generally speaking, you would want to do this outside. But for the sake of presentation, we will attempt to do it inside. So we'll just prop this up here a little bit. And we're not going to do this completely. We just want to show you how this works. So I just use a clicking motion, not continuous. You see it heat shrinking? So that's what it looks like. It will wrap itself around the wire. See, that side hasn't been heat shrinked yet. No heat's been applied to it yet. That has. See how it's starting to enclose the wire? So that's what you want to do. That's how you would heat shrink that wire. You just use clicking motion with your torch. Go all the way around. See, it's changing color. See here how this hasn't been, any heat's not been applied. This side heat's been applied. So you can then inspect that wire and see that, you know, right there on the back, we haven't applied any heat yet. So it's still a lighter pink. On the other side, you can see through it. So we would want to flip it over, again using short bursts, clicking motion. You can see that how it changed color. So now look at it. You know, that heat shrink wrapped itself right around the wire. See how that's how it was originally. That's how it'll be when you're done. So that's how you crimp. That's how you heat shrink, and that's how you connect your wire harness. And these are some of the tools that I use to do that job. Once you get the hang of it, you could do this repair in 15 minutes. Now, over the years, I've developed a more robust inventory of parts, and I'll just show you. This is a little kit I put together, and I put my Navy logo on there because I like that. I got this at Walmart. It's Hyper Tough Organizer. You can find it in the tool section. It's like $10. Okay, so in here I keep an inventory because I do different electrical projects all the time. What you see here is the pink that we just did, blue and yellow. So the pink is, what would I say, 16 to 22 wire gauge. Yeah, see that? The blue is a little bit bigger. Get one that's more clearly stamped. Get one of these. Get my camera to focus, that might help. I'll read it to you. It says 16 to 14. 16 to 14. So the higher the number, the smaller the wire. And this is going to be 10 and 12 gauge wire. See how it's got a writing on there? It's hard to, the camera's having a hard time focusing on that. And I have it upside down. American wire gauge, AWG, 12 to 10. Okay. Then you have different types of connectors, stuff like that. So I like having a little bit of inventory for miscellaneous projects that I carry with the truck. So that's my kit I put together for wire connectors. Now, the kit you get from Freightliner is like this. And it will come with miscellaneous, this is heat shrinking tubing right here. It will come with stuff like this. And just a bare connector, what they call a naked butt connector. I don't generally like to use these things. I'll use my own supply that I bought myself. Just preference, you know, that's all that is. See, there's your instructions here. Recommended wire assembly. So this part, in my pointer, this part right here is a naked butt connector. And then they're sliding the heat shrinking tubing over it. So let me show you what that is. That's their heat shrinking tubing right there. I prefer what I bought off Amazon, which is a butt connector, a heat shrinking butt connector. See, in the kit, it's two parts. In the kit, it's a metal part plus the heat shrinking. I like the combined butt connectors. You know, there's the butt connector inside there, that's the metal, and the pink plastic is the heat shrinking. So I prefer these. Now, you can make that work. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, and then they say use a heat gun. I use a mini torch. You know, so if you use a